Hey everyone, it's Justin. Thank you for watching and welcome to my house. In this video, I'm talking to you again about system events, in particular setting up a new queue for events that are taking too long in the default queue. That's what this video is about. This is more of a kind of advanced move, so if you're not familiar with events processing, go check out my previous video. There's actually a ServiceNow Now Learning lab and course around creating events in ServiceNow. I found that to be really helpful, so you might want to go check that out before you go and do this. But I want to complete kind of my investigation and findings. I got these two event processing alerts in one of my demo environments, and when I went in, it looked like I have a long running event which is taking more than 1,000 milliseconds. And in the previous video I showed how important that was. So I want to basically offload these in somewhere else. So I'm going to do that here with you. We're going to go find this event and we're going to go set the queue for it. So PA job DC ended OK. So let's go into system policy and we'll see the event registry. The event registry is where all these events are registered. And if I go into, let's look at that name again, pa.job.dc, pa.job.dc. There I have the ended OK. If we open up that event registry, we'll see that the queue name for this event is blank. That means that this event is going to go into the default queue. And when it goes into the default queue, it's going to take, based on the history here, longer than 1,000 milliseconds. Actually, look behind my head there. You can see the recent event stats, all longer than 1,000 milliseconds. So it looks like, from what I can find, I'd love you to leave a comment down below, tell me if you know any different, that when there are frequent high volume events or long running events, they should be in their own queue. In the previous video, I showed all the different queues that had longer running events. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to create a new queue called PA queue, performance analytics queue, and so we'll save that. And now if this event gets fired, it should go into that particular queue. Now of course the stats aren't going to show now, but when the event gets fired, it should go into that queue. Now it's not going to actually do anything. That queue is not going to get processed unless I set up a scheduled job to process that new queue. It's just going to pile up in that queue and not get processed because nothing's filtering or listening to that queue. So we got to complete that step. So the way I did this in the lab and the way that I'm going to show you here is we're going to go to an existing scheduled job. We'll just type in scheduled job in our menu there. And what we're looking for in scheduled jobs is the system scheduler scheduled jobs menu item right here, scheduled jobs. So we're going to go there. And the documentation documentation here, use custom queues to process events, and the lab that I did say to use an existing scheduled job, and there's one for text indexing. So I'm going to search for star text, and you can see text index events process. Now this was one of the things where it gets into one of those advanced moves. If you do this, the first thing you want to do when you do it is insert and stay, so you're not modifying this particular scheduled job. So I'm just going to call this PAQ process, and I'm going to insert and stay really quick. So now I'm off of that other job that was running. Now I'll point out that this job is running every 30 seconds as I copied it. Let's go look at the other jobs and see how often they're running. So if I go in here and search for, I'm going to change the filter, and actually let me open that up again, this text index events, and I'm going to look at this script, glide event manager. That's what I want. So when we look at this, we're going to filter for the job context contains, I already forgot, is it glide event? Contains glide event. Let's see, make sure that works. Yeah, so these are all the ones that are processing those queues. And look at the times there behind my head. We got 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 1 second, 15 seconds, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds. So 30 seconds seems to be the most common. Wow, some of these are narrowed down to even 2 seconds. Well, that makes sense, the sidebar notification process. But it looks like we have some variability around that. So let's go to mine, the PAQ process. That is performance analytics, and in particular, it's running about data collection jobs. And this is a demo environment. We want our demo environment to show demo data, but is it important to run every 30 seconds? I don't think so. So I'm actually going to change this from 30 seconds to every like 2 hours, right? I don't really care how long or that this runs every 30 seconds. I mean, we're demoing maybe a couple times a day, but not nearly that much. In fact, I could probably change this to every 12 hours and get away with that, and that's the way it's happening. In fact, let me do that. I'm going to set this to every 12 hours. The next thing I want to do to make sure this event gets processed is we're going to put in there, instead of text index queue, we're going to look for the PA queue that I just created. So I'm going to change this to PA_queue dot process, and we'll save our work. We've got a new name. The next action is going to run at 8:30 Pacific time or 8:31 Pacific time, I think, because it was running every 30 seconds. But now it's going to run every 12 hours. So in a minute here, or in 30 seconds, this should update to 8 plus 12 would be 20 hours, or 2031 hours it should update to. So let's go ahead and reload the form and see if that got our new interval of every 12 hours. I'm just going to refresh this a couple of times because I'm talking. There it goes. It just updated to the next action it's going to run is at 2031, and it should pick up anything that was in that queue from that system, from that event that we saw, the event alert, from the new queue I created called PAQ. So let me show that real quick just to be thorough here. The event registration is right here for PA.job.dc. We're putting it in the PA_queue. So that's what we want. So the last step that we have in here is to go to our system events and open up that alert that is triggering. So we can see, and I'll also zoom in here, that this has happened almost 70 times on both of them since this new instance has been running. 67 on one, 70 on the other. So I want to reset this alert. So if we go ahead and open up this first one here, we're going to click this new reset alert button. So it should notify me if this alert gets generated again. I'm going to go ahead and reset the alert. There we go. And I'm going to close that window now, and let's just refresh this screen, and now I only have one left. It's the same one, PA job DC ended okay. So I'm going to open that alert, and we're going to reset alert, and now I'm going to get notified if this happens again. In this little clip, what I'm showing is the queue actually queuing. So later that evening, I went and recorded the queue showing everything that was sitting there ready before it got processed. We'll show that here in a second. All right, we're here about 24 hours later. You can see I have no event processing alerts on my system events and jobs dashboard, which was I first identified that issue. So that's good. We're still at 0. And if I look at the queue that I made, PA_queue, you can see there's a bunch of stuff that's ready that happened overnight. But if we scroll down here, you'll see that the stuff from yesterday after I made that change all got processed starting at about, I think it was 8 p.m. or no, 11 p.m. on the, it's going to say 10:30 here, which is plus 3 hours, which is 11 or 13:30. I don't know. I'm confused on the time, but it got processed. The interesting thing that I'll point out is when this was running in the default queue, my processing durations were really high. And so after that first one got processed here on the bottom, at 5,688 milliseconds, the rest of them seem pretty reasonable. We'll see how it goes. Well, actually, there's one that's an outlier there, the last one at 4,329, but the rest of them were pretty reasonable. So I'm glad it's over in its own queue now, and now it's only processing every 12 hours, which feels more appropriate for the type of environment that I'm supporting. So everything's working successfully. I have no more events, no more alerts, and I think I have everything I need. So yeah, I guess I should end the video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, please subscribe, or share it with somebody who you think might be interested in troubleshooting events or long-running events in their ServiceNow instance. And until next time, don't forget to always be learning.